Hey guys, today I'll be playing a game called The Valley. This is a visual novel where you play as a person that can talk to plants, and you land a job as an assistant botanist at an acclaimed biotech company. This is part 1 of 2, with the second part being released sometime later this year. Let's see how it goes. Ooh, this is a cool effect. The stars. Ooh, I can make the stars move. That's cool. I like that. Asphalt. You think you can smell asphalt. It's strange though, since you're nowhere near a paved road. Instead, you're trekking down to the bottom of a valley for your second ever job. An assistant botanist, hundreds of miles away from the nearest civilization, just the way you like it. Your employers had dropped you off at a hoist that leads you directly into the heart of the valley. It had looked old, like a part of a mine shaft. You'd questioned its security as it lowered and creaked all the way to the bottom. As it descended, the walls curved concave. It reminded you of a crater you'd seen only in pictures. It's still morning, but the way you were plunged in shadows confused your sense of time. The scaffolding above, as if to hide this place, directed sunlight like a spotlight to shine on your destination. And that's where you're headed now, smelling asphalt on this roadless path. You were a tad nervous that your ID card might not work, that this whole job was too good to be true. Relief floods you as you step inside the only sunlit facility in this valley. A lobby is what you expected, so you're racking your brain trying to figure out what this room is. And then you remember, your employers had told you about a clean room where you'll be putting on a uniform for this job. It's ultimately a lab after all. They're afraid of introducing unknown elements into the environment since you'll be working directly in the greenhouse. You quickly eye the instructional posters on the wall and grab the correct size gear from the rack, stashing away your hoodie into a locker, a little reluctantly. After you're done, it's actually not bad. You can live in this like a second skin, one more protective layer from the world. Emboldened, you swipe your ID card once more onto the next room. The first thought that strikes you is that this place is lonely. It's as if every trace of anyone living there has been erased. The second thought that follows is that it's even better than you expected, especially when you can hear them. Hello. Hi. It's your supervisor, Ash. You were too engrossed in listening for someone else that you didn't even notice they had been standing there. You must be the new hire, our new assistant botanist. You were briefed on Ash before you arrived here, the only human you would be interacting with for the foreseeable future. Your interview process didn't involve them at all, which struck you as odd, but the recruiter was very frank about the 100 NDAs this project was under. You were just happy to even get considered in the first place. Dots. Yes. Not very talkative, are you? Dots. Well, whatever. How'd you find the dorms? It was right next to the facility. You didn't feel the need to check on your room since there would be no friends here. Your bag of bare belongings was taken for processing ahead of time and dropped off there, so all you'd needed coming here was your ID card. Given the circumstances, you're not sure how to answer the question. Did Ash mean how you found it, or what you think about it? Dots. Dots, dots, dots. You realize you'd been taking too long when Ash moves on. Alright, what's your name? Don't you already know from my application? Yeah, but I want to hear it from you instead of whatever's officially on paper. Oh. You find yourself both intimidated and oddly touched by the sentiment. So, what is it? You're... Charlie. Alright, Charlie. How much do you know about this job? Not much. They didn't tell me much when I was hired. Yeah, I know they don't tell you. I'm just asking what you know. Oh. I know I'm not supposed to be talking with anyone about this job, which I like. I know I'm going to be taking care of the plants in this facility, In the greenhouse, I mean, under your supervision. I don't know what kind of plants there are, but I'm excited to meet them. Meet them? Dots. Okay, well I won't keep you. Let's see, what else do you have to know? Don't bother going anywhere aside from your office and the greenhouse. May I ask, why? No, you lack access to them anyway. Unsure how to respond, you simply sit back and embrace the silence. No silence is awkward for you. Ash seems to disagree when their foot starts tapping on the floor. Right, well here's a list I wrote up with basic duties I expect from you. They hand you a piece of paper riddled with coffee stains. There's a near unintelligible bulleted list. I'll be in my lab. Go get settled in before checking those off. Before you can bring up the problem of even understanding what the tasks are, Ash rushes off, almost as if they'd been dying to exit the conversation. Okay. Dots. You attempt to read the list, but it proves to be insurmountable. Your eyes ache with the pointless effort. I guess I'll get settled. You decide to check out. So we're only supposed to go to the lab in the office, so we probably shouldn't go to the basement. This is the part where we save. Let's go to the basement. You walk down the unlit stairs. It feels like you're walking into the void, yet the feeling isn't entirely unwelcome. At the end of it, you can see the basement door under a dim fluorescent light. It's more of a gate, and it's imposing. It's practically calling out to you to open it. In fact, literally so. You can feel a certain pull. The last time you felt this was the first time you talked to someone. A flower. Dots. Even though you're certain this won't work, you try your luck with your ID card at the gate. Of course not. You decide to check out. Let's check out our office. The assistant botanist's office. Or rather, your office. It feels weird for you to have your own space like this at a workplace. The small plant nursery at your first job didn't have anything like this, and that's the only job you managed to hold down. You note that it smells sterile, as though they had scrubbed the place clean after the previous assistant had left. Maybe they died. Though you don't have an idea of what a normal office space should look like. We can interact with things. Let's start with the computer. The desktop is wiped clean just like the office, aside from basic softwares like a word processor. No internet either, as you're supposed to send updates through Ash instead. You were made to understand that the job was completely isolated, but you feel the understanding truly dawn on you now. That's no problem for you though. It's your notebook. You pick up the notebook, or a sketchbook as you soon find out, flipping through its contents. You're a little weirded out that for a place scrubbed clean, this was left out so conspicuously. The handwriting is terrible, you can barely read it. The owner and Ash must be a match made in heaven. That thought leads you to briefly consider Ash as the owner, but the handwriting, as equally terrible as it is different enough. The sketches inside have incredible detailing. You're able to recognize all the plants, flowers, most of them, lovingly rendered with pencil. One page makes you pause. You think it might be a tree, but you've never seen it before. There's buds on the branches that resemble ones that eventually bloom on dogwood trees. Then you question if it even is a tree. Despite having tree-like features, the silhouette looks more like someone kneeling. A bit creeped out yet intrigued, you decide to flip through the rest later. It's your first day and you've already spent too long poring over this. Let's check out the cabinet. Not a speck of dust in the cabinets. Check out these posters. It's a map of the facility. Too many areas are restricted. You can essentially only be here, the greenhouse, and Ash's lab, but you can't say the last one with certainty either. There's the basement section that you had tried accessing. It's completely closed off, and you can't help but wonder why. It's a diagram showing the basic breakdown of a plant cell. Despite your admittedly low self-esteem, you're a little offended by the patronizing diagram. The requirements for the assistant's job don't come close to the job description for a real botanist, but nuts. Never mind. All the hot air that rushed into your head deflates when you agree with the made-up evaluation that you are, indeed, incompetent and unfit for the role. Trash can. With how clean the office is, you're a bit surprised the trash can isn't also empty. Your heart crumples up when you notice creased flower seed packets sitting on top of the pile. Camellia, lily of the valley, geraniums. How can people just throw you away like this? You promised them that you'd salvage and nurture them when you get the opportunity. I believe that is everything. Okay. You think you're done settling into the office. You decide to check out the lab. The lab. The last time you were in anything close to resembling this place was chemistry class in high school. High school, which you failed. You don't like to remember that. You were told that this is under Ash's jurisdiction, so you're afraid to look at anything too closely. You awkwardly stand at the entrance, vaguely wondered why there's even an operating table, when you notice someone calling out. That was fast. Did you finish the task list already? Again, you're taken by surprise. That's not who you were listening for. Did Ash come through the open door across the lab? Dots. 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 You were staring pretty intensely at the plant over there. Were you curious? Oh. It seems relaxed, content, but it's a little thirsty. Huh? Oh, never mind. Dots. Dots. Okay. You think you can hear Ash muttering something under their breath. Your mind immediately supplies you with some very colorful language. I'm going back to work, then. After watering that. Ash grabs a half-empty beaker nearby, opens up the cabinet, and dumps the water on the plant, before walking back to what you presume to be their office. Taking that as a dismissal, you exit the lab. They're humoring you, but it's more than you normally get. Ash was the part of the job description that made you anxious the most, but maybe you can at least work with them in peace. Hopefully. You decide to check out the greenhouse. You feel settled in enough, so the only place left to explore is the reason you were hired. The greenhouse, where you'll be taking care of plants. You're excited to make new friends. It had been a while since you were able to, ever since you were fired from your last job. Which was your fault. You couldn't be good enough. Could never be good enough for them. The plants were different. You didn't have to perform anything. You could just be. They easily accepted you as their own, as if it were the most natural thing in the world to do. They understood you like no other, and you them. And they called out to you from the other side, their voices bubbling pleasantly like a mallet on the xylophone. Dots. With a newfound resolve, you swipe your ID card and enter the greenhouse. It's numerous. You recall the last time you heard this many voices was when, as a child, you would wander for hours in the woods. Your parents were never a fan of that, but they could never understand the comfort the greenery would bring you. A sound sleep, for one. The whispers a sweet lullaby in your ears. The plants here, they are less a part of a greenhouse and more a part of a forest. An ecosystem with the state-of-the-art technology emulating nature, far below where the sun envelops the earth. And they're as content as they could be. No. While they're happy, there's an undercurrent of nervousness, as if they're walking on eggshells. A facade of paradise. What's wrong? You probe deeper and you can feel it. At the heart of this place, something... No. The hell? Beyond the branches, or as if they bowed out to make way for your approach, was someone. You're from the sketches. Like a badly tuned radio, that's what the words feel like, worms against your brain. But the sensation is still akin to a plant. You're still a plant, but something is wrong. Something at run. What's wrong? How can I help you? There has never been a plant that you couldn't understand. but none of them has ever spoken actual words to you. It has always been an implicit understanding based on the variations in wavelength that you could always perceive. Small changes in mood and once you could pick up on. So this one, you can still tell that it's a plant. The buzzing, the static, it still feels like those same wavelengths, trying to claw their way into your brain. But something was in the way. Something. Come closer. Hold. So empty? I know you need help, but what are you trying to say? How can I help? Come closer. Come? Come closer. Come closer. You don't realize your breaths are in sync with the breaths of another. You don't realize you've been taking slow yet steady steps forward. You don't realize you're staring directly into the void as the static fills your senses. You don't realize. Dots. More dots. Even more dots. They're not normal. You've been here before. They haven't been normal for a while now. We've tried to love them as our own child, even went along with this gender thing. But the way they refuse to socialize with anyone, they don't have any friends. It's not normal, but there's been other kids like that, you know that. Asociable kids. Do kids like that talk literally all day with plants, as if they're alive? We've tried so hard to talk to them about it, but they just completely shut off when we do. And then they skip school just to spend time in that nursery, come back covered in dirt. Sometimes they don't come back at all. Sometimes you wish you actually won't come back at all. So you run. You run and you fall. You've been falling for a very long time. Falling onto cracked earth, its jaws on the cusp of swallowing you whole. Swallowed whole. You can't move a finger, a pull of infinite slumber overpowering. The explosion jolts you. You haven't been here before. This isn't you. Distantly, you think you can hear someone crying. You try to move towards them, but you realize your eyes aren't even open. So you move. Holy shit, Charlie. So that was part 1 of The Valley. I thought it was great. The art style was phenomenal. I loved the art style so much. That was easily my favorite aspect of this game. The writing was also great. I loved the language used to describe things. Overall, I just loved it, and I'm very excited to see where the story goes in part 2. As I mentioned in the intro, part 2 will release sometime later this year, and whenever it does release, I will be sure to play it. But for now, that is all, so thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.